This programme is brought to you by Vinny.co.uk.
Very good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Champions League pool here on Free Sports. Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb back with you for our penultimate show of the tournament. 2 from 4 will make their way through into finals night next Monday. And Simon, what a lineup we have tonight.
Yeah, we've got a very, very special lineup tonight. 2 of the all-time greats in operation, but we'll have a look at the lineup now, and you can see Shaun Storry, who came through in week 5. He was one of the star players we've seen so far. Mr. Consistent, if you like. He's always there or thereabouts, and he's won some massive, massive tournaments in this venue, and his game has been just on the up over the last few years. And then Chris Melling, who is the magician. He is one of the greatest to ever play this game. Some of the things he can do on this table are just no one else can compete with. It is absolutely incredible. In Michael Hill, we've got a 6 times world champion. He really is absolutely one of the greatest to ever play the game. And David McNamara, and for me, he is one of the best up-and-coming young players, a former junior world champion, and a guy that's getting closer and closer to winning major silverware. And it may well be this week here on Free Sports, or this competition here on Free Sports.
Well, if that hasn't sold you, ladies and gents, I don't know what will. Our first match of the night is Shaun Storry against David McNamara. As you can see, the bookmakers could not split them in terms of who wins this one. These two are our young bucks up against a pair of consensus Hall of Famers in the pool world. Only 2 will qualify through to finals night. It's the same format as we've seen so far already in the shootout pool. We have 4 players tonight. All will play each other in a round-robin format. Whoever has the most points will top the group and advance on through to finals night. Remember, top 2 go through tonight.
This is a massive match for both these guys. If you look at the way the bookies have seen this tournament or this group, and these are the 2 outsiders compared to the 2 legends, and you feel the winner of this match is going to really set the tone and could go a long way to qualifying.
Yeah, both opening matches are huge in their own ways, aren't they? You know, after this one, we've got Melling versus Hill, which I think it's safe to say would be fit to headline just about any pool on TV. Really excited for that one, but this one could have just as big an implication in who qualifies through this evening.
Well, it's David McNamara with the opening in this first frame. Fantastic break, got the 8 ball in motion as well, and he's got a great chance to start off his campaign with a break and dish. These are all there for him. It'd be a major surprise to not see him clear up from the way they're laid out here.
Yeah, we've seen him get the 8 ball in motion before, of course. He was the first man in this tournament to hit the golden break, did so to break Craig Lakin's heart in the last second in one of his group stage matches. That in play again tonight. Pot the 8 ball off the break, you will win the frame. Pot the 8 and the cue ball, you will lose it, as we have seen so far in this competition, to Declan Brennan's chagrin in Michael Hill's group a couple of weeks ago. So a great start here from McNamara, who is quickly in and amongst it, and it will be off to the perfect start here. Easy enough. So 1-0 to David McNamara. Just over 90 seconds played of our opening match. And again, for those unfamiliar with the format, we will play 20-minute matches tonight. It's a race to 4 or a race to 0 on the clock, whichever one comes first. There can be draws should the scores be level when the clock strikes 0.
What a start there from David. Deej, as he's well known, he's all about that big break and then consistent afterwards. And have a look at his profile. You can see some of the big titles he won as a junior, under-23 world champion and national champion, and then winning an amateur title on the IPA Tour. And he's also been deep in open events and big events in this arena as well. He's getting closer and closer to winning some very major silverware.
And as we saw on the opening graphic, a big outsider tonight, both him and Shaun. And whilst that might be to win the group, and in theory you'd make them probably outsiders to win the group, just feel those odds are a little bit long for these two players who've shown they can mix it with anyone.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd be looking at David McNamara and thinking 6-1. That's a massive price for a guy that can play the game to the level that Deej can. And he's also playing with such a huge degree of confidence, and he's not afraid to take on anyone. He believes he can compete with the likes of Chris Melling and Michael Hill, and he's not here to make up the numbers. He really believes he can not just get through tonight, but win the whole event. And I know that Shaun Storry is going to be feeling exactly the same way.
Yeah, 1000%. Shaun's a really accomplished player, and we can now talk a little bit about him. Now he's at the table. Seen him a few times on Free Sports in the last year or so, post-lockdown. Was part of the Super Series tournament that was the first pull back on the screens after lockdown 1. Performed very, very well within that as well.
Yeah, one of the moments of the tournament for me, turning around a 4-1 deficit to Simon Fitzsimmons, and in 8 minutes managed to walk away with the set 5-4. It was just incredible. It looks like he's got a great chance to start with a break and dish as well. Just needs to watch the red that's in the triangle area. It doesn't go to the bottom left, and he hasn't got a great angle to be able to get low for it into the centre pocket, which I think would have been his plan. I don't think it squeezes into the bottom right. The yellow looks like it's in the way, so he could have a slight problem here.
Yeah, I'll find out now what his plan is. Oh, he's going to have to come up with a new one, I feel.
He's not got a huge amount here. Possibly, yeah, he's lining it up now. Red off the yellow in the middle of the table. This would be some statement if he can make this early on.
Just misses it. Doesn't take much, and the game's first error might result in a 2-0 lead here for David McNamara, who will be looking at these and thinking, here's my opportunity to almost break serve, as it were. It'll be the same sort of thing as last week, so we talked about it a lot, where any mistake you make tonight, such is the quality of opposition at every juncture, you will just expect to lose the frame. That is the quality of players that we're dealing with. Yeah, and it puts pressure on you when you're at the table and you're under the gun. 20 seconds isn't a huge amount of time when you've got to work things out. And this it's one of the things I absolutely love about this format. It's all about putting some of these great players under pressure, and they know that they're going to get punished for their mistakes. And just looking back to Shaun's chance there, it wasn't the ball that he missed in the middle there, it was more the positional shot a couple before it where he left himself straight rather than being high on it so that he could come down the table. And we're talking about a margin of error, he's only half a roll, maybe a roll away from perfect, and that's the difference between having a break and dish and tying the scores up and what looks like a 2-0 deficit. You can maybe even go a little bit further back, Simon, and talk about the position he left himself on the red up the rail to the top left, right at the start of the break, which came slightly in error, and it's ultimately that left him difficult to control the white for that long pot. I think he did well to regain control, but it always felt like he was just chasing that finisher touch. Yeah, no, I agree. Deej just ran into a little bit of trouble, left himself thinner on that last ball than he wanted, and that in turn means he's thinner on this ball as well. Has to work on the cue ball as well as the pot, and this isn't good. Oh, he's just gone far enough to the right. This is now, I thought the cue ball was going to finish right on top of the 8 ball, but he's now in a position where he should make this. Yeah, just that half a roll made such a difference, didn't it? No problem. 2-0 Dave McNamara. A great start against Shaun Storry for the former World Junior Champion. And this is Shaun Storry's profile. The nickname is Autopilot. For a number of reasons, really. You could give it to him. Pilot's license held, I believe. And a great performer in this arena, which is something you touched on right at the top of the show, Simon. He's won some big tournaments in this venue.
Yeah, he has. You know, it's that Bulldog Security Challenge and the K8 Classic. They were both in this arena, and they're both full of top players. And so to come through that and have win the trophy in one and runner-up in another just shows what he can do. And of course, winning any titles on the IPA Tour is a very impressive thing to do as well, which he managed to do back end of 2019.
Yeah, maybe not headline titles as we might see from the likes of Michael Hill and Chris Melling a little bit later on. And we will see a few headline titles from those pair, but
one or two.
Any time you win a tournament against the sort of opposition that compete in that Bulldog Classic, for example, etc., etc., is worth a look. And I think we're going to have a video referee check here. The possibility rather of a foul break, Simon, for the viewers at home. What are we looking for?
Yeah, so the break rule in this competition with international 8-ball rules, it's played to a 4-point rule, and that is a point per every ball for every ball you pot, and a point for every ball that passes the centre line, so a line between both centre pockets. So you need to get a combination of 4 or more points for it to be a legal break. And in this competition, we do have a video referee who will have another look at it just to make sure that that has happened. In this occasion, it looks very tight, but we will have another look. And if it is a foul break, then it's Shaun Storry on this occasion. He'll get the choice of whether he breaks or whether he'd put David McNamara into break again.
Well, I know Dave is a big Liverpool fan, and he's been having his own beef with VAR so far in the last year or so.
Yeah.
I think he'll be absolutely sick of it at this point. That looks like a foul break to us, and so it turns that Shaun Storry will get the option to break or hand back to Dave to re-break. And like most players, I think Shaun is going to take the chance to have a free break, and a great chance now for Shaun to get himself back on the wagon. To have a free break, as it were, is an opportunity that shouldn't be sniffed at.
No, I think every player would rather have the break, and I think what we've seen from Shaun on Free Sports over the, in the previous event and this event, we've seen him break very, very well. We've seen him, have some golden breaks in the previous event, and he was getting the 8-ball in motion a lot in his first group as well. So if you're giving him extra breaks, then it can be dangerous. What he'll be looking for is just to make a ball, give himself another opportunity, and of course, it's not just this frame that he gets to break. If he can find a ball and make a break and dish, get himself back in this match, then he gets to break the next frame as well. So this is a big moment with this break.
Yeah, I was going to mention, actually, it's worth pointing out, we talked about Dave McNamara's golden break a little bit earlier on in this tournament. Shaun Storry has been a great exponent of the golden break so far, but he's done the opposite of that, and we've had the cue ball go straight in off here, which will turn the table over for Dave McNamara anyway. It's incredibly unlucky. You can see the reaction of Shaun there. It sums it all up, really. But Dave McNamara not been punished, and some would say maybe even rewarded ultimately, because this is a far better table than the one he'd originally left off his break, and a great chance here to go 3-0 up, as luck would have it, Simon.
Yeah, it's a strange game at times, isn't it? David McNamara with the foul break, but comes out with the advantage thanks to that. You have to say very unfortunate break from Shaun, because he hit that break really well. You could see he's made a ball, he's got plenty of balls, a decent spread, and the way the cue ball was kicked in off was very unlucky, and he's now staring 3-0 down in the face, which is a bit unfortunate for him. He's made one positional error on his side of the table, and that's a tough place to be, really.
Yeah, it can be all it takes. We talked about it last week, we'll talk about it again this week. We will play to very fine margins in this competition. You talk about fine margins, I think Dave McNamara is just about to find out just how fine the margin is here. Got that positional shot wrong. Can he recover? No.
Oh, and it's a foul as well. Hasn't hit a cushion after contact. In other rule sets, if you are snookered, then you don't have to hit a cushion after contact. That's not the case in international 8-ball rules. So gives Shaun Storry cue ball in hand anywhere on the table, and this is exactly what he wanted. Just an open table that he knows he should run through this, and well, 30 seconds ago he was expecting to be 3-0 down.
Oh, that's not come nice. I think he's got recovery up to the top of the table, but it's a good job he does. This is possibly some of the loosest shots I've seen Shaun Storry play on this table, given we saw his group stage as well. Perhaps a few nerves be jangling out there for Shaun, which would be very understandable. There's a lot of interest in tonight's pool, as is expected with the names that are competing within it.
And I know it's a cliche, but you don't settle down until you get that first frame on the board, especially in an environment like this. And you know, he's had some time to think about this this quarter-final lineup, and he qualified the furthest to go, if you like. He was in Group 5, so he's had to think about it the longest. So he'll be just anxious to get that first frame on the board, really settle down into this match. And you know, the difference between that 2-1 scoreline and 3-0 is, well, it's just huge, especially when you consider that Shaun does have the next break.
Recovered it pretty well. 2 shots away from 2-1. And Shaun Storry goes 2-1. He's back within touch. 10 minutes and change to play. Still plenty of time left on the watch. Still plenty of time for both players to make a clean run at this first match of the night. This is what they're playing for. Aaron Davies and Neil Raybone both making it through to finals night last week, qualifying with distinction from a really, really tough quarter-final group. Superb performances from both on the night. They ended up tying. We had a 6-red shootout just to clarify seeding, but in terms of their performances last week, Simon, it was impressive, wasn't it?
It really was impressive. When you consider the quality of the group, they included one of the current greats of the game in Phil Harrison, and it almost felt inevitable. Both of them played so solid. It was almost that you couldn't see any other outcome than those two coming through, just the way that the matches unfolded. It really was a brilliant performance.
Those 2 holes will be filled. Oh, where's the 8 ball? Would you believe it? The white ball stays up, and Shaun Storry, we talked about this pair. They get the 8 ball in motion. They love a golden break, and Shaun Storry has hit one at the perfect time. Would you believe it?
2 each on the scoreboard.
Oh, Shaun Storry with a hand up. He just wanted to make sure that white ball stayed up. Hand up an apology from Shaun Storry. It's not quite the celebration we saw from Dave McNamara when he hit his.
Well, it's one of those things that I mean, that's incredible to see it happen. But yeah, you don't put your hand up to apologise. I think we saw David McNamara. He gave it the big fist pump. He gave it, you know, he gave it everything he had. Especially it was to win the match as well. But for Shaun, you know, I don't know why he hold the hand up there, because he is trying to get the 8 ball in motion. He is breaking the way he's breaking because he knows that is a way of getting the 8 ball in motion. He talked about it when he came in to play in the Super Series a few months ago. You know, he said that he'd been working on it, he'd been practicing it, and that's why he made a couple of golden breaks, and he's made another one here. And well, I said it was only 2 minutes ago we were talking about him being 3-0 down. Now it's 2-2. David McNamara needs to regroup, because Shaun Storry is back in this one.
Yeah, isn't he just absolutely brilliant from Shaun Storry? He's right back in this. We are all square at 2 apiece. Dave McNamara now has to find a response.
Well, you talked earlier on about punishing mistakes, and David McNamara made that mistake in snookering himself, and next time he touches the table, he's lost 2 frames.
What a cut break that is. That is about as good as you can hit a cut break. Absolutely beautiful. Sometimes the debate rages, and I think it will do until the end of time, really, which one's better, the front break or the cut break. Generally speaking, you get less balls in motion, a little bit less power involved in the cut break. That's as good a spread as you're ever going to see.
I just think the quality of the cloths and the tables we play on, I think the cut break, we see more and more players going to it, especially in this format, the shootout format with the golden break. But you'll see players like Michael Hill, who he will not cut break. You know, he doesn't really agree with it. It's not something I think he's comfortable in doing. I think Chris Melling might be the same. He'll do it. He might do it at certain times, but it's not something he thinks is the right way to go.
It's a massive frame to win. Still with 9 minutes left. It's almost certain, I'd say, we're going to get a direct winner from this one. But who's it going to be? This frame is massive. Dave McNamara is leading the way in front of it. 2 reds and the 8 ball to go. Key shot here. Won't necessarily be these 2 reds, they should be gimmies. It's the transition up the top of the table onto the 8 ball. Let him have a good angle to do it. He's got half of the table clear to find his route. And there should be 3-2.
Would have loved to have been a few more inches off the cushion just to take the pressure off this shot, but it's one he should still get, but it's missable now.
Never in doubt. Some response to that from Dave McNamara. The last time he was at the table, he was 2-0 up. It's now 2-2, and he is back in business, winning that frame to take the lead once again. 8 minutes left.
That's impressive, just to be able to respond and not let the fact that you've lost 2 frames, one of them with a golden break, affect you, just to get straight back on it and take your next opportunity. And that's what you've got to do. You can't let things that go against you on the table annoy you. All you can do is just sit there and wait for that next chance and then take it when it comes. And very impressed with the way that Deej has been able to do that there.
Talk about both these first matches being important, Simon. It's not necessarily important just because of who they're playing, but as we've seen so many times throughout the weeks here in this competition, it is so difficult to come back from a first match defeat.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen that every group so far. You know, the players that lose the first match, it's so hard to respond. And, you know, if a player is to lose this match, and I think we will see, as you say, the clock's going to run down, so one of these players is going to lose. And, you know, then you look at the lineup and you go, well, I'm taking on 2 of the greats of the game, 2 of the all-time greats, and I need to probably win them both to be able to make it out the group. That's tough to do. You put in a lot of pressure on yourself in that situation, and of course it's the opposite for the winner, the guy that manages to get off to the win here. You know, they're almost, I wouldn't say free rolling going into the next game, but they're in a position where, you know, they feel a lot more comfortable and they feel like they're in control of qualifying, especially with 2 to qualify.
It's a little bit of pressure off, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you lose your first match, you are really under the gun. You can't afford to lose another. With 2 qualifying, it is possible to lose 2 and win 1 and still qualify, but it needs a pretty specific run of results to happen and go your way.
This isn't the greatest layout for Shaun. It wasn't as open as it was for David in the previous frame. That yellow just coming to the middle of the table helps him because it gives him a ball to be able to track up the table, but it still has to play a decent positional shot onto his last ball. Well, he's probably just going to drop it in and leave the thinner yellow run round and take the 8 ball in the same pocket. The only thing he's got to guard against here is just not overhitting the shot. It is thin, easy to overhit this and just half snooker yourself on the 8 ball. He's played it perfectly, and simple 8 ball to respond, and what a response.
What a response indeed. We will have a final frame decider. It's 3-3 after 6 in this best of 7.
Well, whatever happens here, it's been an incredible opening match to tonight's quarter-final group. 3 breaking dishes, a golden break, well, what are we saying, a positional mistake each, and that's about it.
That's about it, really. Maybe the foul break from Shaun second time round, but I almost don't want to call it that. It was thrown in off the pack. Really has been some standard, and I don't think that's going to drop at any point tonight. We talked about it last week. The standard was incredible, really, and it's set to be more of the same this week. This next break is massive for McNamara. Winner takes all of this frame. 8 balls on the move again. It was tracking towards that middle pocket, wasn't it? But it's going to come up dry. And McNamara, who has broken so well in this match, has had one slightly dodgy one, obviously, with the foul break, and then another one come up dry there. It's been all or nothing, really. He's either hit them a dream or it has come up a problem.
He just caught that one a little thin. He did have the 8 ball tracking towards the centre pocket, but you could see the cue ball was flying around the table a little bit, and they have still opened up nicely, but he didn't quite get the power going through it in the way he did in previous breaks, which is why he's sat in his chair shaking his head, because this is a good chance here for Shaun. Lovely angle to get across to what it is now his trickiest ball, and that's the one nearest the top right-hand corner pocket. Lands with a good angle on that ball to come down the table. You fear the worst for David McNamara, and it looks like Shaun's going to be the one getting the victory. Hasn't left the greatest angle. A little bit thinner than he'd like. Harder to control this cue ball now. He can't just drop this in and play for the one to the bottom right-hand corner. He's probably going to have to come down past the whole cluster of balls and back out. Oh, he played the cannon and hasn't landed. Or can he snick that one in the centre pocket? I think he can. He's having a good look.
Oh, just about. He's chasing it a bit, though.
Perfect recovery. Cue ball slid past that second red, and now he has this red into the centre pocket. And as long as he catches the yellow, and he should absolutely catch the yellow, he's going to be on the last red to the corner pocket. He did slide by the yellow, but it was still fine.
Well, this for 2 points and to top the table. It means very little at this stage of the night, but it might mean a lot come the end of the evening for Shaun Storry, who takes the first victory of the quarter-final. Neither player has done an awful lot wrong in that first match. That is some standard for Michael Hill and Chris Melling to follow. But Shaun Storry gets over the line.
Well, that was some standard. What an opening match. 2 breaking dishes for David McNamara, 1 for Shaun Storry, but also the reverse dish and the golden break. No missed pots in the match. Only, for me, there was 1 mistake each side of the table, and that was a positional error from David McNamara when he looked certain to be young 3-0 ahead, and that allowed Shaun Storry to get back into the match. And then, of course, that bad break from David at the end has really cost him, because that reverse dish from Shaun gives him the points.
Well, what a performance from both players there. Shaun Storry, in the end, getting the victory. The gauntlet has been thrown down to the other pair in this quarter-final group. It's a good job that they're 2 of the best players of all time, then, isn't it? The Machine versus the Magician. It's live next.
This programme is brought to you by Vinny.co.uk.